Thank
Just
you.
give me a second, I'll tell you when you can.
Yeah. Ooh, pretty cover. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to do it. Welcome, everyone, to our press conference. Rights of Nature is a systemic solution to the climate crisis. This is co-hosted by the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network and the Global Alliance for Rights of Nature. My name is Osprey, Orielle, and I am the Executive Director of the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network, or WECAN, and also I sit on the Executive Committee of the Global Alliance for Rights of Nature. And I want to thank my colleagues for participating in this press conference today. And I'm really excited to introduce them and to hear their voices. And I'll be making some introductory comments. We'll be hearing for Tom Goldtooth. He is the Executive Director of the Indigenous Environmental Network from Turtle Island, or the USA. Then we will be hearing from Nnimmo Bassey, who is the Director of the Health of Mother Earth Foundation from Nigeria. And then we will be hearing from Camp-Horinek from the Ponca Nation, who's the Environmental Ambassador for Ponca. We're also honored to have her on our WECAN board, and she is also the chair of the Indigenous Council for Rights of Nature for Garn, also from Turtle Island, USA. So, we're really glad to have all of you here with us for this really important intervention, this press conference in this COP space, because we really think we need to have a very different kind of conversation that is going on in the halls here. We're living in a time in which we must change everything about how we are living with Mother Earth and each other. This is crystal clear. The urgency of the climate and ecological crises demand that we completely redesign our economic, social, and legal systems. In our local governments and our global movements for rights of nature, we are looking for a revolutionary and evolutionary change for society. And at the heart of it, we are asking, how can we transform our dysfunctional environmental laws and neoliberal economic systems that are literally destroying people and planet? I also want to acknowledge that much of the vision and worldview of the Rights of Nature framework comes from Indigenous peoples around the world and their knowledge of the natural laws of Mother Earth. So after decades of environmental protection laws and spaces like 29 years of COPs, our modern legal systems have failed to prevent the increasing grave threats of global warming, degradation of the Earth's sacred systems of life, and the growing displacement and death of humans and other species. In particular, there is concern for Indigenous, Black, and Brown, and frontline communities who bear the worst impact of disasters because of environmental racism and societal injustices. So we have to look at a very deep systemic approach. To truly live sustainably and live in harmony with the Earth, we need to change our very foundations, the very structural DNA of our legal frameworks to respect the natural laws of the Earth. Today, the majority of the world's legal frameworks are based on treating nature as property, and I cannot stress enough how much harm this has caused all of us. Our life-giving rivers, forests, and mountains are treated as property to be sold and consumed, and as property, these natural communities and ecosystems are not recognized as rights holders. So in most legal systems, because nature is property, it's invisible in our courts of law. By maintaining the current structure of law, we are furthering a dangerous human relationship to the natural world of ownership and exploitation. We have to ask ourselves, why haven't we stopped these destructive actions that are not only lethal, but also legal? We need an entirely different legal configuration that recognizes the Earth's living systems are not the enslaved property of humans. A primary premise of the Rights of Nature movement is that in order to ensure a thriving future, humans must reorient themselves from an exploitive and ultimately self-destructive relationship with nature to one that honors the deep interrelation of all life and contributes to the health and integrity of the natural world and upholds a relationship of reciprocity. An essential step in achieving this is to create a system of jurisprudence that sees and treats nature as a fundamental rights-bearing entity and not as mere property to be exploited. In our movements, we're advocating that breaking out of the human-centered limitations of our current legal systems is one of the most transformative and highly leveraged actions that humanity can take to create a healthy and just future for all. And as climate disruption and environmental degradation increases globally, it could not be more important to highlight that exploitation and extractivism is a result of patriarchal societies, colonization, racism, and neoliberal capitalism, which are all based upon the same systems and ideologies of power over and exploitation of women, Indigenous peoples, people of color, and the land. It is clear that the global community needs to address these systems of oppression in an intersectional manner to move towards justice and real solutions, and Rights of Nature can offer a vital path forward in this effort. What we are seeing in our collective work globally is that people's movements are rising to say no to the commodification of Mother Earth and the sky. Our earth and atmosphere are not for sale. We don't want our sacred water, air, and forests in the marketplace. We do not want to see carbon offset programs, carbon credit schemes, ineffective net zero pledges, which are all being discussed here and is the primary function of the COP. We have to say this must stop. These are false solutions to the climate crisis. Instead, we want to see pollution stopped at the source, extractive economies transformed, and for governments, corporate actors, and all of us to live with respect and reciprocity with Mother Earth. We cannot keep taking and taking, or very simply, humans will not survive. Like Mother Earth's immune system, people are rising to say in their communities, yes to rights of nature. And we can change our laws to live in harmony with the earth. And I want to say this is an ever-growing movement. This isn't just an idea. At the national level in 2008, Ecuador became the first country in the world to recognize rights of nature in its constitution, and rivers have been protected in Ecuador because of this. Local rights of nature ordinances in the U.S. today are protecting communities for harmful practices such as shale, gas drilling, and fracking. There have been over 36 ordinances that have been passed in the United States and are functioning now. The Ponca Nation has made history as the first tribe in the U.S. to recognize rights of nature in law to protect their territory from fossil fuel extraction. New Zealand, the Parliament has given the Wanganui River legal standing. In Colombia, the Colombian Supreme Court has recognized rights of the Amazon River ecosystem, and I could go on and on. So yes, this is an idea whose time has come. It's one of the fastest growing environmental movements with advancements in over 39 countries. And today, I'll say in closing, we are calling on the United Nations to adopt a universal declaration on the rights of nature, on the rights of Mother Earth. It has long been needed, and it is time. Today, I want to introduce a draft concept for a global initiative for a universal declaration on the rights of nature, pathways to establish a mechanism for endorsement and adoption by world governments. I hope this draft can open a robust discussion on the time for rights of, because the time for rights of nature is now, and we need to put Mother Earth in the center of the negotiations. Mother Earth should be the center of the talks that we're having here. Thank you. And now I'd like to hand the floor over to Tom Goldtooth. You have the floor, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you, Osprey. I want to say this is a very important topic. I begin to come to these COP meetings in 1998, COP4. There were only about 8 indigenous peoples here at the conference of the parties at that time. I was given authority to come from elders, from spiritual leaders, from youth, from women's societies. And in the United States, we have elected tribal governments. I also got permission from them to represent them, to talk about climate change, a changing climate in 1998. It took a number of years to begin to understand what is the solution that the governments of the world are talking about, called mitigation. I also was confronted with many questions from scientists and corporations about what our view was on adaptation. I says, I've consulted with our folks. Yes, it's important, and we do have some solutions. But I want to talk about this term mitigation. What are you doing to find a solution to a climate changing? Later terminology at later COPs, they use the word climate crisis. So I came with an open mind. And after a number of years, I started to consult and bring spiritual leadership to the COP meetings. One is a brother of mine from the Hunaquai people, the indigenous people of the Amazon of Brazil. He does not speak English, so we communicate, though, through Google Translate. But he said one time, just a couple of years ago in Glasgow, the world leaders are not talking about the solution from a spiritual foundation. And I remember that because I was thinking of the same thing over the number of years. How do we engage, and what are the parameters and principles of engagement between indigenous peoples? And now that the UN wants to bring in knowledge holders to talk about our traditional indigenous knowledge. So what are the principles of engagement to a society that has no understanding of our definition and relationship to cosmology, our cosmovision, the way that we relate, especially in the word relationship, midakie or midakiapi, relationship. It's a spiritual relationship, a profound spiritual relationship. When I say Uchimaka Wichoni Mak'u, Grandmother Earth gives me life. I was raised with those perceptions. My children are raised understanding their relationship, a deep spiritual relationship to Mother Earth. Mother Earth has a spirit. The trees have a spirit. The water has a spirit. The rivers. Life has a spirit. How do we communicate as humanity with the spirit? So I found mitigation leading towards the financialization of nature, the incentivization of the trees and the carbon, value of carbon, people measuring, indigenous people on the front line given measuring tapes to measure trees, to inventory how much carbon is in those trees, and then satellites monitoring how many acres of trees or hectares. Trees became a form of commodification, quantification, and I consulted with our traditional people. We now have a system society quantifying life itself. Where does it end? How do we change the mentality of colonization that has laws around property rights? Bringing in carbon, an element of the atmosphere and the air we breathe, into a market system. Bottom line, allowing polluter corporations to own the carbon. They own the carbon. At the end of the day, treating carbon as a commodity in a trading system. That's why I'm to speak on the need for a systems change. not a reform, a system to reevaluate, humanity to reevaluate its relationship to the sacredness of Mother Earth, not to treat her and objectify her like they objectify their women. They put in a price to Mother Earth. Mother Earth is not for sale. Father Sky is not for sale. The WTO of the sky, carbon cowboys, these mentalities. So how can we say in a few words to the decision makers where the bottom line, they're depending on carbon for climate finance? That's the bottom line. That's why that gavel went down, violating all procedural processes. It went down. What wheeling and dealing went behind the scenes to get some of the countries to back away. Bottom line, climate capitalism. Something has to change. It doesn't cut emissions at source. It's not a climate mitigation plan. It's a trading instrument around profit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom, for your comments, and I hand the floor to Nnimmo Bassey. Thank you, Nnimmo.
Thank you so much, Osprey, and thanks, Tom, for setting it out so clearly. Just picking up from where Tom took a pause, because he hasn't stopped talking, I can still hear him in my mind, because he really set everything in motion. Yes. You know, whenever I come to the COP, I keep telling myself that if other beings were the ones conducting this COP, maybe the animals, the fish, the birds, they would have reached a solution. They would have reached a decision a long time ago, because these animals are so brilliant and they understand when danger calls. But humans always think that we can always find a solution. We can break anything, then we can fix it. We can destroy anything and then fix it. We just want power, we want control, we want domination. We want to enjoy our life at the expense of others. Other beings don't operate that way. And this is why we need to overturn that mindset of competition, destruction, militarism, and all kinds of things that oppress other people, and work together in a kind of intersectional solidarity, working together in all realms, in all manners of ways to bring about the well-being of everyone. You know, when I look at my community, we define good living or a good life as etuwem. Etuwem in my language means the good life. And a good life, if I must quote Casey, is realizing that we're all relatives, that we're all connected, we're so deeply interconnected, we're not different. That is why we have only one human race, not two, not three, not four. Human race. Even though we have races all over the place. But it's a lack of knowledge and a lack of wisdom. And so we believe that living well does not mean having more power or having more resources or having the capacity to exploit others more than others, but the capacity to feel, to understand that the climate crisis, for one, is a global crisis. It was caused by some people who have to take responsibility in ensuring that they contribute to solving the problem in a way that is just, fast, and fair. This is what the good life is. Not coming to COPs and looking for how to ensure that no decision is made. Not coming to the COPs, and even the protest is now a mute hand-linking within the corridors of the COP. Not on the streets of the city where people could join to understand what is happening in the halls of the COP. We need to open up, democratize the COP itself, get back the humanity in the COP. Listen to our beings, listen to ourselves, listen to one another. This is what we really need. And you know, because we cannot expect much change if we maintain the mindset that is built on colonialism, that is built on neoliberalism, that is built on power and control. We need to change it. Otherwise, we're just moving around on a treadmill and going nowhere. Like people do when they go to, what do they call those places? When they go to the gym moving on the treadmill, spending hours jumping and marching, but not living with the sport. You stay in one place. That's what but the COP is worse than that. Rather than staying in one place, we're moving backwards. Moving backwards. Voluntary actions. Not what must we do to clear the problems. And this is why the rights of nature movement has been so critical. Because the rights of nature movement ensures that we understand nature, Mother Earth has the right to exist. Every being has a right to exist and to flourish to the best potential. And human beings have a responsibility to ensure that we don't disrupt the cycles of nature, that we don't disrupt the cycles of Mother Earth. You know, when you build a dam on a river, you are actually telling the river you have no right to move. You are breaking the cycles of life of the fish and everything that lives in that territory, apart from displacing human settlements. And all these are contrary to what the kind of mindset that will bring about the beautiful life that nature and Mother Earth has so beautiful, so much given us. So with right of Mother Earth, rights of nature, brings up the notion that we must have a jurisdiction that recognizes the rights of every living being. In fact, even the things we believe are not living may be more living than we are. Because we can't just hear them. You can't hear the rocks, you can't hear the mountains, you can't hear the soil. All these living entities, the Earth, Mother Earth herself, has full rights before we can enjoy our right. Final thought. Looking at how destructive humans have been across the planet, look at how much we've transformed everything that we can lay our hands on, we can then understand also that this mirrors the way we relate to one another. We believe we can change everything, change everyone. We can subjugate everyone. We can exploit, and we can stand on everybody's head and shoulders. You know, if we change our mindset and just love one another and love Mother Earth, we're going to make progress. But if we want to fight, kill, destroy, we'll not go forward. We're either going backward or we're destroying ourselves and everything. And that is not what we want.
Thank you so much, Nnimmo, and thank you for bringing the rocks and the stones and the fish into the room with us. Thank you. And now we'll hear from Casey Camp-Horinek.
Hello. Thank you for all of you being here, and thank you for all of the incredible wisdom that's been shared in every direction, and especially the wisdom that is coming from Mother Earth right now, from the sacred water herself, from the winds that blow and the fires that live. Thank you to the moon for giving the rhythms to us to understand how to be in this world that we were born into, coming into it from our own mothers, our own fathers. Thank you to the natural world and the natural laws that allow us as a species to be here at this time. If we did not have those things just mentioned, we would not exist. But because of those, we do exist. And we do have a responsibility, not a right, not just human rights, but the rights that nature has given us within the context of the natural laws, the inherent laws. When we talk about rights of nature, they exist whether we recognize them or not. We are merely talking about aligning human law with the laws that already exist. There is no one that is going to put down on a piece of paper a law that tells a hurricane that she may not come on land. She lives. She has her own life. She has the ability to govern herself, and she does. And at this particular time, my understanding from the peoples that have brought me into this life is that we're living in a time of prophecy, where we humans, where we of the indigenous nations are bringing the teachings that are coming to us from the generations before, from the ancestors before, not just of the human ones, but those of all life, to teach us how to live within those natural laws again, and to remember, because it's always there. It's always there within our spirit. It's our very DNA and cellular makeup to understand. Every animal, every bird, every creepy crawler, every wind, everything within the natural world knows how to behave in order for its existence to continue. The only species that has broken natural law is humans. Is humans. Because somehow we have taught ourselves through the ways of a kind of mind thought of greed, of trying to aggrandize oneself and one's race, because we didn't think of race in the beginning either. We just had our spaces that we were put by our original instructions, by our own understanding of what the Creator and the Mother Earth expected from us. We were informed by the land that we lived, how to live. If we were not in balance with the four legs that were there, and the hunting and the fishing, we simply moved on to another space and didn't overuse, because that's the way it was. We have the same innate abilities to be able to understand how to navigate this time that is called a climate crisis, that is called climate chaos. We have the ability to use the minds that the Creator gave us, to use the spirits that are part of Mother Earth's teachings to engage in how we go forward. And that's for the Ponca people where rights of nature happened, is to look at our own cosmology, see what worked. And when we understand what worked, then we learn to translate it into today's economy, today's way of being. But each and every one of you is listening to the earth because she lives within you, with every bite you eat, every breath you take of the wind, every thought that is engendered within you, every natural rhythm that you move in, is telling you that today is the day to warrior up, do the right thing, because now is the time that we will be able to be called to this time in honor, and to represent in history what is not always being represented in these halls of so-called leadership or in those elected officials in the countries that we live in, that they may not be reflecting the actual needs of civil society. So what do? We organize in our own territory. We listen to what's good that Mother Earth wants to teach us. We begin to recognize the inherent laws of all living things and align ourselves with the true power of sun, moon, earth, and life itself. The rights of nature exist. Let's recognize it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Casey Camp-Horinek, and to all of our colleagues. We just want to end on a note of saying that we would really encourage all of you to look at other frameworks that are being presented here at the COP. We need a different way forward. We need rights of nature. We need other frameworks to discuss what is happening with our planet, with our communities. And as I said before, the Global Alliance for Rights of Nature has clearly put forward, Indigenous people have clearly put forward that there is the rights of nature. It is already being implemented in over 39 countries. So this is an idea we want to keep spreading. It is spreading, and we welcome you to join us. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll take questions outside. Thank you.
I'm not. Let's get a picture together real quick, Tom. Nnimmo. Let's get a picture together real quick.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy's going to be for you guys too.
Okay, let's
One
go.
more shot. One more. Thank you so much.
We need to get off the stage.
We used part of the speech you made at the action. You already used it on social media.
Yes.
Yeah. I was feeling for it.
So I really thank you so much. Thank you.